Hi, everyone. I'm sorry for the slight delay. We had some technical difficulties to work out. And welcome to the Select Board meeting of August 5th, 2021. We're starting at 6:33. The first item on our agenda is to take action on the meeting minutes from July 15th.
I'll make a motion, we accept the meeting.
Second.
July 15th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And first up on the agenda is Harold French, and we're going to have a discussion on placing a Revolutionary War monument in town. Harold, would you like to come up and
You could sit in the
you
chair.
can sit, Harold, if you'd like, be real close to the
Enjoy
mic.
Well, it dawned on me, a friend of mine is very much into history. He lives in Vermont. And he sent me down the article about the Stockbridge Indian Massacre. And all of a sudden, I got reading it and it dawned on me. We've got monuments to all the other wars, but not the Revolutionary War, which is probably the most important war as far as this country goes. Stockbridge, between the settlers and the Native Americans, sent over 500 men to fight for the cause. And when I talk about the Stockbridge Indian Massacre, it happened down, I think it's where Queens, New York is now. 50-something Native Stockbridge residents were killed in one day. Of course, we've got some, the Revolutionary War veterans we got buried in Stockbridge are men that made it back and died afterwards. Because back then, if you died in battle, you were buried where you fell, pretty much. So a lot of those people that died, those men that died, they don't even have marked graves. They might be out in somebody's cornfield or underneath, a development someplace. Or they, when they're building a development, they dug them up and said nothing. So I just think we ought to have a monument to them. My thought was to get something in keeping with the times. And that would have been, a big granite stone, similar to what the World War I monument is. I have it standing upright. And there's too many, we wouldn't be able to put a big enough stone in to put all the names on. So I think what we should do is just put some appropriate wording on the stone and perhaps have a brochure available with all the names and what we know of and all the information we can gather on it available, at the town hall or wherever, Chamber of Commerce, whatever.
Well, I think it's an excellent idea. The one thing that we can do is take advantage of technology now. So,
I think you talked about that, yeah.
yeah, if we don't have enough space to put everyone's name on the stone, we can use QR codes, which I think would be useful throughout town and various historic sites to provide people with a means to access
Right.
more information. And I would say we continue to gather all the information in history and get as many names as we can get.
I know Rick Wilcox is working on some of it, getting some information.
Where are we going to place it?
I was thinking in line with the World War I monument, over almost in front of the chime tower, kind of on its own. And upright. And I talked to a fellow that has a farm. He's got a lot of stone on his farm. He said, if we can come find a stone that's appropriate, he'd give it to us.
So we have World War I, World War II, Korean War,
Right, Vietnam.
Vietnam. Do we
And
have,
we have, as far as I know, we have no Desert Storm. I don't believe we have anybody from Desert Storm. We might, but I don't know of any.
what's the Civil War? Any veterans?
Civil War, mine's right down here by.
There's
But there's,
another one.
Tom LaBelle in his research found that there's quite a few names missing off of that monument, should have been on there. And I'm still got to get some people together, we've got to find all the Civil War graves and cemeteries, seeing almost all the markers were removed.
Is that, the Civil War monument is in the sort of southern portion of that little plot, isn't it?
Civil War monument's right down here between.
I understand where it is. On that plot where it sits, there's some grass behind it, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, because it might make sense, those being the first two wars, to put the Revolutionary War monument. and
it's
Civil War
not enough.
together. You know what I'm saying?
No. I mean, that little triangle behind it's not much bigger than this desk. It could taper right down to a point and then it goes to the, keep right sign.
Okay.
You also have to worry about people people's safety in terms of crossing over. The Civil War Monument,
Right.
the Soldiers Monument is large, it's tall, it's apparent what it is. But if you're talking about, a standing stone with something else, do we want to encourage people walking across there? Because there's a lot of traffic, whereas down by the chime tower, there's a lot of space there.
Okay.
Just my thought. And I thought, because the World War I monument's got a big bronze plaque on it. I think the best thing to do is sandblasted lettering. Because back then they wouldn't have the resources to make a big bronze plaque, whatever to put in it.
Make it like period
Right,
appropriate.
yeah, if we can find somebody to letter it.
Okay.
Funding?
Well, I think it'd be minimal. I mean, we'd have to get concrete to mount it in.
Well,
And, but I can't figure, I don't know how much the lettering will cost, or, it depends on what we put on it for inscription. But the stone, if we can find a stone out there, we'll just have to, maybe get puke and maybe help transport it. And, I'll bring it back, and, what I thought I would do is get some, 1-inch rebar and drill holes to the bottom of the stone and drive the rebar up in it.
Yeah.
And then stand the stone up, cribbing it up, and have what I used to like to do is dig a hole by hand and to make it 24 inches wide by, say, 6 feet long and about 3 feet deep, and you line it with sheet rock. That way there's no forms to have to pull. You make the hole this minimal size, and it makes a slick side on the concrete so the frost can't get a hold of it. And then stand the stone up and crib it, and then pour the concrete underneath it, and then finish off the top of the concrete with flat field stone.
Sounds good.
I mean, I think it sounds good. I think that there's people in the business of designing monuments. This doesn't have to be an expensive project, but I think that having professional help, making sure that we get something that, is in contract, is in a character of what we currently have, and, looks fantastic. I'm not saying this won't look fantastic. I don't know. I haven't.
But one of my problems is
Not at all.
what you're saying here. Why is it we always have to throw money at a project that's so simple? I mean, it's stupid. I mean, money doesn't grow on trees. Every time you go throwing money at it, you're raising the tax rate. We can't afford, my taxes have gone up 2,500% since
No, we
1974.
talked about that. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just stupid to keep throwing money at consultants that don't lead you anywhere. Look at all the money that's been spent at that intersection down there. Totally stupid.
We're going to build something forever, Howard, Harold. I feel like.
Stone is forever.
Yeah, and I feel like we should invest in making sure that, it looks as good as it can look.
Well, we're talking though about, what Harold's talking about, the stone and the placement of the stone and whatnot is fairly straightforward. And if what you're concerned about is how this is going to look, whoever is going to do the sandblasting
Right.
of whatever inscription goes on there, which obviously we can take a look at and have some discussion about.
Right,
with the
for sure.
public as to what should be said on there. But whoever is going to do that sandblasting, those people are professionals. This is what they do. And they do lots of this. They do it on monuments like this.
I'm sure they do. I don't know if they're in the business of designing the actual monument, though.
They're not designing it. They're lettering it. That's all they're
That.
doing.
I want a designer to design it.
You don't design a stone. You take a big old flat field stone. You don't design it. Mother Nature designed it.
Yeah, let's find the stone
Yeah,
and then take it from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
All
The
right.
stone, take some pictures, where you can go out and take a field trip.
Somebody wants to go with me sometime, I'll make
Yeah, I
arrangements.
can go with you.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be fun.
we can do this, but I think we keep throwing money at stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
something,
ridiculous.
No, but the opposite of throwing money at stuff is that stuff it doesn't look as good as it could look. And this is a town where the way things look matters. That's all I'm saying.
Well, look at how the town's been butchered already. I'm not trying to ruin the
That's not a
town.
justification for butchering more. And I'm
I'm
not saying
not
this would be
butchering it.
doing that. I don't know.
I mean, I want to
haven't
have
seen
something that
this
looks like it
schematic yet.
belongs.
yeah,
I mean, they put the monument in for Chief Conkapot. It's a modern monument. It doesn't belong there. Is, if something is designed for, the 20th century instead of, the 16th century.
You find a stone.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
We can do
Yeah.
that. If somebody wants to go with me, so it's somebody else's opinion, great.
Right.
If you want to go with me, we'll make arrangements, go out there sometime. I'll call him and see, get with him so he can show us around and,
Okay. And there's going to be probably multiple options here.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of
Yeah.
what stones are there.
yeah.
But we're talking about, free stones. There's nothing ugly about a stone. Basically,
I
that's
get
what's
that.
there for World War I.
Yeah.
That's pretty much just a natural stone that somebody picked out and said, okay.
Propped it up there and that's it.
This size,
Yeah.
here's the angle we want it, and let's make a bronze plaque. In this case, we're not talking a bronze plaque because it's not appropriate.
Right. By lettering the stone itself, we're keeping the cost down to minimum. And we might even be able to get somebody to volunteer to letter it. Who knows?
Probably get volunteers to do the whole job.
You
Well,
might
I
donate
mean,
it.
we'll
Yeah.
I will say,
get help.
but I, like to have a hand in it because I've done this kind of stuff before.
We'll help you. We'll dig it. We'll pour it.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of sand down there. It's not like it's going to be hard digging.
It's easy. I would not want to take a machine there to dig the hole. I think hand digging the hole that size, like, even,
Sand. If you dig it in.
it's only in the past 20 years or so, they've been machine digging the graves. That's the easiest dig in the county.
Because it's sanding.
It is. And quite often I found freshwater oyster shells. Because this used to be a lake bottom.
Right.
According to geologists, the original natural dam was down in Glendale, almost where the man-made dam is now.
Right.
Apparently they eroded out and the lake went dry.
Well, Harold, we appreciate the time and effort that's
Okay.
being put into this. And also want to thank Tom LaBelle for his efforts,
Yeah.
and, which are Herculean.
Tom is a fantastic asset to this town. He doesn't open his mouth until he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
And when he speaks, you best be listening, because he's speaking the truth.
But anyway, good luck. Just
Thank
get
you.
in touch.
Will do.
No,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, now we have a series of one-day licenses. So the first one on our list is take action on a one-day alcohol license for the Josh Billings Runaground for September 19th, 2021, from 12 PM to 4 PM.
I'll make a motion. We accept that one.
That one's located where?
I'm trying to find it in my packet.
Tanglewood? Yep.
It was rhetorical.
East lot parking lot.
It's located at Tanglewood, yes, because Tanglewood is in Stockbridge.
That's why we're giving the. The Tanglewood and stuff.
Just reminding people that we permit them because they're in Stockbridge and we're good partners.
Motion we accept the.
I'll
Second.
second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And we also need to take action on one-day alcohol licenses for a number of Berkshire Botanical Garden applications. So do you want me to go through these one at a time or
No, go through them.
go through each
Yeah,
one?
no, let's read them
All
all.
of them?
Put them all, I'm good with all of them.
August 7th, 2021, from 4 to 10 PM for a wedding. August 8th, 2021, from 4 to 10 PM for a wedding. I'm sorry, 4 to 8 PM for a fundraiser. September 4th, 2021, from 4 to 11 PM for a wedding. September 17th, 2021, from 5 to 7 PM for an exhibit opening. September 24th, 2021, from 6 to 10 PM for a rehearsal dinner. September 25th, 2021, from 4 to 7 PM for a memorial service. September 30th, 2021, from 6 to 10 PM for a rehearsal dinner. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion. We approve them.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, to take action on one-day alcohol licenses for the Norman Rockwell Museum for August 21st, 2021, from 1 to 4 PM for a fundraiser. And August 25th, 2021, from 6 to 10 PM for a fundraiser.
I'll make a motion. We approve them.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda, Stockbridge Golf Club, change of manager and change of officers application to review and for approval. So do we have that document here,
Yep, this
Michael?
is the information for that, which is your application.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
And I will second.
Oh, who,
This is just a change of management,
They change quite regularly.
change of officers.
right.
Do you want to go through
The
the
board
details?
changes, so they have to give a list of new updated officers.
Can I just get a copy for there?
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good.
It's manager Jade Newton, by the way. So we have a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Take action on Agriculture and Forestry Commission recommendation for forester. Did you want to discuss that?
I think they chose someone who has experience with old growth forests. I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's not the one the town usually uses, so I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that.
I think a
Do you want
different
to let the
opinion's
public
nice.
know who we're talking about and more of the specifics?
I don't know many more of the specifics. I haven't been as involved in that since we formed the committee. So I'm not-
Didn't have a meeting this past Monday. Because I went on and there was no,
Yeah.
No.
I can tell you what I know. I mean, basically, some of the grants that we want to apply for require the forward stewardship plan in place. And there's a program where the state of Massachusetts will give you a little less than $1,000 for a property that size to have somebody come out and do an eval and basically, come up with this stewardship plan. It's obviously a little different in old growth forest because there's no logging. Whereas often in a regular forest, there might be a logging component to keep the forest healthy. So a guy named Bob Leverett, who is the founder of the Old Growth Tree Network, I believe, made a recommendation to the Agricultural and Forestry Commission. And that person, I believe, is the one that we're.
So you're talking about, they're recommending Bob Leverett.
The recommending, the guy Bob Leverett recommended to them.
Oh,
Who has
okay.
old growth experience.
Do we have his name?
I don't have his name, but
Okay,
so
I mean, it's on the recommendation. They sent an email.
I don't have
I
it.
didn't see that.
Let me see if I can.
Do you have it, Michael?
You know what, Hugh? That's what I thought, I'll do that.
I don't have the, no.
I don't recall seeing that email.
Yeah,
Well, I know Bob Leverett's reputation, and he's a well-known, very experienced forester. So
Yeah, I spent last week walking with him and his wife through Iceland and took an hour video where he was explaining, like, he's an encyclopedia of knowledge
Yeah,
about the
no,
place.
yeah. He's extremely knowledgeable.
But it's not him. Somebody
But it's not
recommended.
him, so I think for the public's sake, we should
yeah.
have that name.
No, you need to have the name.
Just see if I can find it.
So,
It's our first Monday meeting, get in the house, go to the calendar, nothing in the calendar, nothing in the,
There's nothing there,
so, if they had one, it wasn't televised, it wasn't on Zoom.
all right, so it's
But it
Michael
wasn't
Maury,
advertised, it wasn't
West 20 West Street, South Deerfield, Mass.
They're recommending Mike.
huh? Who is
I
it?
thought that's
He went with us the first day.
yeah.
What's the name?
Forrester's contact is Michael Maury,
Oh, that's great. He's very knowledgeable.
South Deerfield, Mass.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll make a.
Yeah, he walked with us in February.
How do you spell his name?
It is,
MAURI.
yep.
I'll make a
MAU.
motion that we, let them move forward on this. Agricultural.
We assigned Mike
Yeah.
Maury as the
We
forester. of
approved
the Oak
Michael
Grove
Maury.
Stewardship plan.
Yeah, for the forester.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Okay, and bylaw enforcement discussion is our next topic. And this is basically, we just want to reassure people that once we get approval for some of our bylaws, that there is actually a mechanism in place, and this is Mass General Law, to actually enforce those bylaws. So do we have a copy of did you make copies, Michael?
I have copies being made.
So there's a packet for each one of you. Basically, the enforcement mechanism, I talked to town council, and that is chapter 40, section 21D. There are tickets, technically quote unquote tickets or citations that you write, and they have to be in triplicate. And basically you have to stipulate the specific bylaw, chapter and verse. What is specifically you're saying that they have violated within the bylaws, what the fines are. The fines obviously have to be within Mass General Law guidelines. But there is that mechanism. So it's a relatively quick and easy way. Yeah, that's the whole spiel. And probably a lot, this is an older, I don't know that they've updated it, and probably some of the guidelines, the dollar fine guidelines in there are out of date. But we know that when we wrote, for instance, the short-term rental bylaw, that we were, following Mass General Law in terms of fines and fine amounts. So just to reassure people, if they think that we're not going to be trying to enforce those bylaws.
And existing ones.
And existing ones, exactly. This also applies to any other existing bylaw, but that this is the mechanism by which we actually act. And so once someone receives a citation with a stated fine, with the explanation, they have a choice. They can either come into town hall and they can pay the fine, or they can take it to district court, in which case then we have to be prepared to defend, why we're citing them. But at any rate, so it does exist and we're aware of it, and we will be moving forward with it. And just so everyone knows, we probably won't hear from the Attorney General's office until the end of October. Possibly. So right now.
And we have to post it for 30 days.
And then it's a 30-day delay. So we're talking the end of November.
Pretty much we're
December.
probably best would be the beginning of the year.
Right. So safely in 2022, we will be able to actually implement and make sure that people are complying with new bylaws. I would also recommend that as a group that we discuss sending out notification, particularly in terms of the short-term rental.
Yeah, right.
What specifically they will be expected to do in terms of registration. So everyone that at least that we are aware of that's registered with Department of Revenue, we can get that mailing list.
We also should mention that it's important that they're not using professional operators to run their Airbnb. If there's a company that is managing 2 or more units, they are banned under this bylaw from managing property here. And I know, for example, the Airbnb on Hawthorne Street has 2 other clients in Stockbridge, and that organization is not going to be able to do the work in Stockbridge. So I think we might want to give people a heads up that,
Well, certainly included in that communication should be the entire bylaw.
Yeah, but,
They can refer to that.
Well, I'm putting out a notice with probably a link to the website to where they would go to get the full bylaw. And, yeah.
Right,
And then just a notice to each one.
right. And possibly like a press release, something to the general public in terms of this is something that is now required.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments about it?
no, I think that concurrent with writing new regulations, we should, the bylaws are some of them are decades and decades old, and some of them are kind of quaint, but not realistic for how towns need to operate in a modern age. For example, I think our board is violating the select board bylaw when it doesn't meet every single week of the year, which is required in the bylaw. And I think it's totally fine with me, not to be, a maniac about enforcing them, but also to recognize that I think we should have a process to update them. So if we want to have a minimum of 3 meetings a month, it should be reflected in the bylaw. I don't like when things are run inconsistently with what the bylaws are, even if the way they're running is better. I would much rather have the bylaws periodically updated to make sure that we're in compliance with everything. Because when we start getting arbitrary about which ones we do enforce, then it creates chaos in my mind.
Well, I don't disagree.
No, we can update.
I think it's an
Simple
enormous
update, some to
task.
change them.
Yeah.
And
it's
some
an-
of them,
Yeah.
like changing our meetings from every
Right,
Monday to, because they used to be Mondays, and then
but that's not in the
to go
bylaws,
3.
It is in the bylaw. Well, not the
not
day.
Monday,
But,
not Monday. But if we're supposed to be meeting every week, then I guess we should start meeting every
I'm
week.
happy to if you do. You know, I love
That would be fine.
no, you need that 1 week off.
But, I mean, the bottom line is there's a procedure for changing bylaws, so
Yeah.
we have to, then you have to go through them
Yeah,
with
I
a
know.
fine tooth comb, and who's going to do that?
Well, I think it could be a 2-3 year project where we take sections and read through them and just come up with recommendations and talk about them. I mean, I just think I think that actions, the way we manage the town should reflect what the law states are the requirements for that. And I think that once you start saying it's okay to not enforce one or the other, it opens the door for people to interpret.
I don't know that anyone said that.
I'm not saying anybody says, maybe says is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? It's sort of like ignore, but rather than, yeah.
Well, I wasn't aware of this every week, select board.
That's just one
Be
example.
having
I can give you
weekly
10.
meetings. But there may be a lot of different examples buried in there.
Yeah, I mean, the
We're
thing
not
that,
aware of.
the thing that we've been talking about, the chain link fence, that's an example of one that probably either has to go or has to be made a little bit more reasonable, because I think it's unrealistic in every situation to not be able to have a chain link fence. And yet the burden of a chain link fence in this town, where it has to be fully screened and not be able to be seen from the road or another property or whatever, is pretty onerous. And either we leave it like it is and start enforcing it, or we, make that one a priority.
Yeah, let's discuss that later.
Yeah, and we also have to determine which things are actually grandfathered.
Well, the burden of proving to some of these grandfathers is on the property owner. Otherwise, anybody who has anything that didn't follow the bylaw could just say, prove to me it's grandfathered. I mean, we've seen chain link fences go up in the last few years. There's one right around the Tanglewood property on the backside. I don't know who wrote that bylaw, but it was written, I bet, in the 80s by Biaco, because it smells so, that whole like kind of time of, sort of focusing on the aesthetic above all.
Well, I mean, I think we can put this on as an agenda item at a future time.
Agenda, so it probably should be.
And I'm not agitating on that. I'd like things to be consistent with actually how they get done.
Okay. All right, well, let's bring it up at a future meeting then.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea. This is sort of like performance standard. I mean, it's just,
Well, this is the basic standard of
Yeah.
how you enforce your bylaws according to the Commonwealth, so. Okay, and one thing this is something I wanted to mention, East Main Street culvert discussion. I was listening to a meeting and I was hearing, someone who lives on East Main Street complain, and there's been an ongoing situation with a culvert down there for many years.
yeah, Lisa Sowers.
Yeah. And it's under the purview of District 1
Yeah, it's
DOT,
state.
it's the state. But apparently they've had zero success dealing with the state. They have talked to Tri-Town Health, and this came up in a Conservation Commission meeting, and Sally Underwood Miller gave good advice in terms of getting a hold of Jim Willis at Tri-Town Health. Because it's a public health issue when you are consistently having your septic flooded, your cellar flooded, et cetera, and you're right by the river. So this has been an ongoing problem, and I just questioned whether or not the select board or the town administration can in any way, shape, or form help move this along, help get some attention to what has been an ongoing problem and has cost tens of thousands of dollars for some of our residents.
Right. Especially with the coming increase in severe storms,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's no reason why from the administration, select board, letters can't be addressed to District 1. I don't know if there's been any formal communication between the town and the district on this matter. This is the first time I've heard about it.
not that I'm aware of.
Right.
It was the first time I'd heard of it too, but apparently it's been going on for a very long time.
No,
Mike Buffoni is well aware of this, and so he knows some of the history.
So I'm in touch with Mike and then figure out what, if any, communication has officially happened between the town and
Lisa-
also bring in Chris Marsden as emergency management. And if we
And Lisa
have,
Sauer can give you the entire history. I can give you a number. I went over and talked to her after one of the big rains, and she was afraid that her chicken coop was gonna end up in the river, and then, we made a plan to kind of go and talk to Concom, so I think it'd be great. She's got the whole history going back to, I mean, at one point, they lost their entire backyard, including their septic system. The box was hanging over the river, There's we're also doing that HVA project, which includes one culvert design and sizing project. I don't know what we chose, but I wonder if it's not too late if we get that.
The state though.
What?
It's not our culvert.
It's not our
State
culvert.
owns it.
The
No, but it's
state-
one in Stockbridge.
That, one of Stockbridge culverts.
Yeah, it's gotta be a town
So
culvert.
we have to contact the state. We have to go through the state.
Okay.
So, but what I'm curious about is whether or not at any point has there been formal, I mean, I'll speak to the person, contact the person you have me contacting to find out that history and maybe what they've done, but has there been any official correspondence between the town and the state, District 1, about this issue? Or is this going to be new to them too? So we need to figure
They
that
know
out.
about it. It's just
So
that they've been there
I'll-
multiple
Yeah,
times.
they've been
And then,
contacted.
is it in a flood zone? Is there a floodplain there? Does that, what floods, what doesn't, what would be?
It floods because of the culvert, not because of the river coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
The bank is like 10 feet down.
Oh, all
Well,
right.
it's not the river that floods, it's
It's
Yale, it's the culvert, Yale Hill.
Yeah.
The culvert is like undersized and then it.
Right, there's a lot of runoff from
And
across.
then water often comes over the road. There's
So let's get the information. Let's start an official correspondence and then an official trail of complaints to the state so that we can show, you gotta keep bringing this issue forward, but we have to make sure it's going through the right channels. It may have never gone through the right channels. So let's first investigate that, figure out what we've done to date and then what we can do to move it forward.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Harvesting update. So here we are, we're ready to start the harvester up this coming week. And Hugh can talk to the condition and what he's done so far in terms of getting us ready for the harvester running, if you want to come up, Hugh.
I know we spent some substantial time on it last year getting it ready. Changing some teeth, doing some work on it, maintenance on it, and it didn't deploy. So it was put to bed, ready to go. Tuesday, I sent a guy over to get it going and he brought the battery back. And the short of it, we had to change gears and do some storm drain work. Tomorrow, we got a couple tasks in the morning and by coffee time, my idea is to bring it to the shop. It'll be a good dry run for the trailer and we'll mount the GPS up that we got today. And we should be ready to go. I don't foresee any issues, but I will keep our administrator, Mr. Canales, updated midday, whether it be good or bad. So I'll give him the status of where we're at with it. So, but
And what do we think it's going in the water?
Thank you.
We're hoping if everything, next week, it'll be in the water.
Like next week is in Monday or Friday?
Next week. Some point next week. So we have
Soon as
to,
possible.
we're getting the GPS coordinates from Jackson.
Jackson, in fact, he actually,
We can load it
I
right.
received those this afternoon.
You did, all right. So
Yeah.
we can load those into the system. We can also create what's called geofencing. So to identify where you don't, so it'll basically tell you not to be in here. So we got one with the Stockbridge Lakes already preloaded on it. So we just need to put in all the data, get that ready. You and them got to get it set up, powered up, hooked into the battery system on it. And if everything goes according to plan, we should be at some point next week out there harvesting. So,
and there'll probably be a learning curve with that GPS, I'm sure, be ironing out. And
yeah.
But I mean, the good news is didn't have time this afternoon to read the manual, but I'm assuming that we can literally upload what Jackson has sent us directly in
Yeah, to
to
create
set
the-
the routes and to set the geofencing where you don't go. So, but I had him send it in two different ways.
But you
just
have to
in
basically
case.
turn it off to get from one point to the next, obviously, right?
It'll establish your routes that you're going.
Establishes a route that you're following.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I think that's a case of a learning curve, you know.
Yeah,
Get a-
some of it on how we use it.
Yeah. It's gonna take a little bit to figure it out, I'm sure, but,
But so I think we're moving right along.
yeah, so.
So as we go into the fall, the order conditions on this runs out in November. So, we've got a lot of work for this few months, but we're going to then need to produce the required documentation of the year for them. And then,
That's why we got the system that we have. You plug a USB card in, it'll download your actual geolocations for the days that you operated. And it puts it into Excel format and that can be sent in.
Right, and
I just don't think
already,
we should be getting the paperwork in. I think we should get in as early as we can,
Yeah.
over the winter.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've communicated with Misty Ann Merrill at NHESP and also sent it out to DEP. I did not hear back from DEP yet, but Misty Ann actually told us what her preferences were and how they want to see the information. And so we'll just, plan accordingly. But yeah, this system has this ability to archive the information and produce reports. We can download the information and produce reports.
And also the weed disposal, is that staying as it was?
Yeah.
Yes.
Self
So the
track the
logging of that.
disposal and-
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
For documentation.
Yep.
right.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear from Todd Del Molino?
No.
Okay. Because I think Mike's out part of this week coming up.
Pardon me?
I think Michael Nathan is out part of the week coming up.
He is back tomorrow.
Oh, good. He calls you more often, obviously.
Oh, no, we have a meeting tomorrow. We have two meetings tomorrow, actually. The SBSC meeting in the morning and Michael and Greg and I have a meeting in the afternoon. All right, next item on the agenda, take action on a one-day entertainment license for Handcrafted Creative for a fundraiser at 2 Depot Street on August 29th, 2021, from 1 to 5 p.m. And also to take action on a one-day alcohol, this is related, for 5 Senses Events and Design for a fundraiser located at 2 Depot Street, also August 29th, 2021, from 1 to 5 p.m.
I'll make a motion that we accept it. You got all the information?
Second.
So, yeah, we've received a bona fide parking plan. Thank you very much. We do have a fully executed agreement with Laurel Hill Association. So basically, since we have those items, I agree. I'm going to second the motion, if you already seconded, but the rationale is, yes, you've provided us with everything we need to see. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you for your time. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Okay. And next on the agenda is discussion on public meetings. So there's been some discussion lately about open meeting law and the COVID extensions that we have in place and whether or not we're running hybrid or in person or just in person. And so I think that at this point, we have most of our boards and committees are participating in hybrid versions of meetings. So they're both live and in person, and they're utilizing Zoom for additional access.
Which are not, do we know?
There's only been one meeting that has not been hybrid.
They just
That
kind
I'm aware of.
Fell through the cracks, I guess.
Zoning Board of Appeals and Cemetery Commission, there are two that I know of, and I go to all of them.
Oh, that's true. Cemetery Commission is another one.
All right, but Karen plans on going hybrid, so
Right,
that's,
we're moving everybody, I guess the right terminology, we're moving everybody to go right now to hybrid that wants to go to hybrid. We're set up for it here in this room.
Right.
We have the technology to do it, and the board still have the option of being fully remote, if they want to remain fully remote.
but they have the option of being only in person.
Yes,
Yes, legal.
I don't understand why we're giving them the flexibility rather than deciding for the town. I think we should have a policy.
you can make a policy, but ultimately the individual boards set their own rules of.
Is that written down somewhere? Did the governor basically take that authority away from this board?
You never had that.
We don't have that
Well,
authority.
who has the authority?
It's open meeting law. And you have three options of how you want to run your meeting. Now, I agree that the Board of Selectmen should be recommending what preference we use on all the boards. Obviously, you have a little more say over appointed boards of this, but you don't have any authority over elected boards. So the elected boards can choose, but I think as the highest board in the town, as the chief executive officers in the town, elected officers in the town, that you guys should make a recommendation and ask the individual boards to follow.
I mean, we have a situation where I think, on the one hand, it certainly makes sense and is probably much less confusing if we recommend that everyone is pretty standardized in terms of using hybrid meetings. However, even within that scenario, there are options available to every board and committee, and that the responsibility for those decisions falls to the chairperson. And that is, there is no obligation for any public meeting that you allow remote participation. It is strictly for the point of view of allowing the public to view in real time what's going on at that meeting. So in no meeting, even in an in-person meeting, it's always up to the chair whether or not someone will be recognized to speak or whether they will not be recognized to speak.
I understand how
under certain
open meetings
circumstances.
work, and I understand how.
So there's multiple options. What I'm saying is there's multiple options, even under a hybrid, for each board or committee to make, their own determination based on what they happen to be doing in that meeting. Because that also impacts whether or not there's public participation and when the public participation happens.
60% of this town is owned by people who work Monday through Friday somewhere distant, far away, and they come here on the weekends. And many of them, some of them, want to watch what we do, and they want to be able to go to the website and watch recorded meetings. 20 years from now, the projection is saying maybe it's going to be 80%. I think that it makes sense for us as a body to start to figure out ways that we can include these people in the way the town is managed, because it has a huge benefit of reducing when people get to know each other, there's not as much animosity if there's some disagreements. And I just feel like, COVID is one thing, but in the long term, I worry about a tiny percentage of the taxpayers who happen to be residents, basically having meetings that nobody can access because most of the people who own the town can't come here on weekdays. And it just ends up being that, we're not working on Saturdays and Sundays. They're only here on Saturdays and Sundays, and no one's ever talking to each other. This is a chance for us to talk to them and them to talk to us if they want.
This is what we are already doing.
Yeah, I know.
We have set this up. We are all set up to do Zoom. We're all set up to do hybrid meetings. And I'm positing that perhaps it makes more sense for us to make a recommendation for hybrid meetings, but not an order, not an edict. But I think it makes sense in terms of being consistent and not being confusing to the general public, that hybrid meetings are available to every board and committee. We're already set up to do this. We've already taken all these steps, Patrick. So
No, I
all this
know.
is already happening. I would argue, however, that there's a lot of value in people physically coming into a meeting, because you're not really talking face to face. When somebody's coming in remotely, it's not nearly the same as having their participation in a room, meeting these people, being able to chat prior to a meeting, being able to chat and form those relationships.
Yeah.
So I would still encourage people to come in person if they can. But what the hybrid does is it does allow access to people who can't do that for whatever reason. But it's not as though we're lacking any transparency. We've always been taped. We've always been visible on TV live. And we're out there all the time, 24/7.
We have
for
been,
people to
but none of
watch.
the other boards have been.
Well, they are now.
Yeah.
For the
So,
most part.
and I think I just think people appreciate it, and that it's good for us, and it's good for the morale of the town.
Right. Now, there's things though that you have to think about in terms of when you're doing hybrid meetings and you have any kind of a Zoom element. Because basically, if you encounter technical difficulties while you're meeting remotely, and even if you have just a partial remote segment of it, the person chairing the meeting has to suspend discussion while reasonable efforts are made to correct the problem. If technical difficulties result in a remote participant being disconnected from the meeting, that fact and the time at which the disconnection occurred must be noted in the meeting minutes. So there are some technical issues and documentation issues that we will have to deal with, and everybody needs to understand what those are, and what the limitations are. But I think it's within the purview of every chairman to determine how they're going to run their meeting. And I think it's fine for us to recommend that we all run hybrid meetings so that there's a Zoom element, there's a remote element, and there's an in-person element.
And we have
I'll go along with that.
and we also have a Zoom account for some of the smaller boards if they need them. So we're set up various ways and using community television and the rest
Right.
to set up any of our meetings. So, I will reach out, send out something to all the boards about how it can be done, and then ask anybody that wants to come in to learn. It takes you about 5 minutes to learn this setup, except when we started this meeting, because
We were
something was
unplugged.
added and one of our connections over there is not connecting to the internet. So I'll have to have our IT guy look at that, why that's not happening. But it's very simple to set up. We can get people set up and get everybody trying to work forward. Yeah.
Right. So, another thing I'd like to stress is that I think it falls by the wayside easily when people are coming in remotely and they're being allowed to, pose questions and have discussion. That everybody needs to remember it's the same as if you're in person, in that you do need to identify yourself. You need to be identified by the chairperson to speak, and then you need to be identifying who it is that's speaking. Oftentimes that kind of slides off, it gets forgotten. So I think that's really important. Everybody needs to understand who it is that's actually talking, because that may have to go into the minutes. So at any rate, anything else you wanted to add, Chuck? Okay.
That's good.
All righty. So then under correspondence, we have a couple of things.
What does that mean, correspondence? Is it letters to us?
No, the communications. The lunch program is starting up again. So lunch will be delivered on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Heaton Court, and Wednesdays at the Council on Aging office in Stockbridge. That is our senior center. And meals will be served around noon. Time depends somewhat on delivery.
It's Wednesday at downstairs.
Yep.
Wednesday downstairs, yep. In the senior center. There's a $2 suggested donation for anyone 60 years of age or older per meal, and a $7 charge for anyone under 60 for those who want to participate. Sign up is required, so if you'd like to participate or have questions, you please call or email Christine Straub. Her phone number is 413-298-7300. And the email is stockbridgersc2, that's Robert Stockbridge, Charlie2 @gmail.com.
RSC2?
RSC2.
We'll make sure it's on the
Email.
website.
We'll make sure this is all on the website, but we wanted people to be aware that, yes, we are starting the meal program again, and it will be served at roughly noontime. And then we also received a letter from Berkshire Theater Group. Pursuant to condition number 4 of the permit granted to Berkshire Theater Festival by the Stockbridge Board of Selectmen on January 17th, 1991, we hereby notify the Selectmen of the following 2021 outdoor activities. On the Unicorn Patio, the Harlow Chamber Players, September 12th at 2 p.m., Krishna Guthrie at September 18th at 2 p.m., and Dancers of the Berkshire, September 19th at 2 p.m. Also, we are no longer performing Nina Simone for Women outdoors on the Unicorn Courtyard, August 13th through September 5th. This production has been moved back indoors to the Larry Weber stage at the Unicorn Theater. We made this decision because during the performances of The Importance of Being Earnest, we discovered that our patrons are increasingly comfortable coming back indoors. For Earnest, we required all patrons to be masks. For Nina, we will be requiring proof of vaccination. Like everyone else trying to negotiate the ever-changing COVID landscape, we learn as we go. Thanks very much again for your continued support, and we all try to find our way to the light at the end of this pandemic tunnel. Sincerely, Kate McGuire and Nicholas Paleologos. Is that how we pronounce that?
Paleologos, yeah.
Yeah. So, we thank you for the letter, and duly noted. We're hoping that things continue to go well and we don't have to worry about the Delta variant, but it's always changing sands under our feet lately, so.
Are you reading
we'll see.
Tom's letter, or are we just skipping them?
I didn't get that. What letter?
That was emailed to us.
Yeah, it's, you might want to just read it quietly first. It's related to this.
So this 1991 decision by Selectmen was a permanent outdoor.
No, that if they were to hold it, if they were gonna allow to hold it, then they have to notify.
So we
Just
don't,
notification, you don't have to take action, they just notify.
Right, this
Yeah.
notification.
Yeah.
According to that agreement. So that's what they're stating in the letter that they sent to us.
But there was all,
are they allowed to have outdoor entertainment?
well, everybody is now, are they in a residential zone or no?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen this, so I don't know that this is the time to
Yeah,
bring
I'm not
this up.
suggesting it is, I just,
But, no, I haven't seen that at all, so.
okay.
But at any rate, no, they're giving us notification and, I thought it was positive in terms of giving us good information, letting us know, number one, not only the notification, but this is how we're proceeding and we're using these precautions. And so we'll see if that remains the same or if there's still a shift in what people's fears are. So we thank them. So having no further business, I
One
move.
other item.
Wait, wait.
One more?
Of the
We're doing correspondence,
Stockbridge, the housing trust. We had talked about that, of just announcing that anybody's interested to contact Teresa.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
should go on my agenda. It's not on my agenda.
yeah, so obviously we passed the housing trust fund, appropriation. We need to both create the trust fund and start to focus on the sort of areas that, we want to try to provide assistance. And Jay and I have had a few discussions on it and envision a 5-person board. There's a couple of people who put their names forward. But if anyone is interested in serving on it, then I think you should contact Michael.
There you go.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much.
Nothing else.
Nothing else,
I
okay.
got, no, I just, the only other thing I had was I wanted to compliment Michael on his response to some of the folks who raised concerns about the Averitt Bridge, mostly because they didn't understand that that the design actually includes, very nice guardrails. It's not metal guardrails, it's like got some detail in it. What's it called, Texas style?
It's called a Texas style, right? It's a cement rail with open arches.
Yep, and he even sent a diagram and it was awesome. And I suggested to him that maybe he wanted to write it up for either a press release or a Stockbridge Updates, article or something. Because we heard from two different people on criticisms of, a bridge where they didn't even have access to the schematics. And this would be easily something that could be, kind of cleared up. I think sometimes this is an example of where people have a misunderstanding. And rather than force them to do it one-off, that we could just kind of get it out there and for, people to read. And, it's nicer than people thought. We should get the word out.
Well, I think it should be. It should be on our website and certainly
Just
could
put it on
be,
the website.
yeah, and available to everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just put it on the website. No one goes to the update.
What's that?
Just put it on the website. And just a
Right.
town thing, put it on the website would be good.
Well, I think that things that go on the website, people can cover them if they want to cover them, but When you put it on the website, people have to go to it. You got counters on every page. You probably get 10 or 20 people on those letters, which I find a little hard to find too, where they are. Stockbridge updates goes to, I don't know, maybe close to 1,000 people read a week. It's an easy way for us to get news that's positive out to the community, and I don't think we should be hesitant to use it. Anybody can submit a letter or article, anybody
That has
can.
not been my experience.
I don't understand. Are you talking about the one with Christine?
I don't know what you're talking about there. Just hasn't been my general experience to be able to get factual information out in that manner. So I think it's safest to get it through.
She never
town.
edits anything that's submitted, not even a correction of a typo. Never.
At any rate, I agree with Chuck that it should go on the town website.
Well, time's been now, and then we'll discuss this after. Okay,
Right.
we're done, aren't we?
All right, I move to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.